Leviites, we're back once again to talk about the limited series categories at the Emmys, but also the movie categories, although, as we all know, the limited series categories are the ones that are just completely bonkers. There's so much content to talk about. Once again, I'm joined with three of the best, really, Charles Bright, Matt Noble, and Tony Ruiz. Hi, guys.
What?
So in the best limited series category, we have 6 contenders. And I think there's probably 3 locks, maybe. And those 3 locks are Dopesick, Maid, and the White Lotus. Do you all agree? Tony, tell me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think those are the safest. I think those are the most acclaimed, the most visible. I think the Dropout is a strong contender. But the thing is, and again, this is a great problem to have because there's so much great, television to watch, is that what goes into those last few slots. For me, I think 1883 was an absolute masterpiece. And I think the popularity of Yellowstone and the fact that this is a limited series, it's clearly kind of a one-off series, this one story. I think it's going to do very well in the craft categories because it is such a period piece. I think that could help it. I also think maybe something like Under the Banner of Heaven. That's what I have in my 6th slot, but I could easily see a case for things like The Staircase or Station 11. I could even, this whole category is honestly just kind of giving me angina. So
I agree. What about you?
That's
Charles?
something since you're gay.
That is really something. That's telling you that this is serious.
angina.
I know.
Angina. I don't even know what angina is, but go ahead.
Heart condition.
Okay. Okay, good to know. In case you're all wondering, angina is a heart condition. Charlie, what about you? Do you think the White Lotus and Dopesick and Maid are the top 3?
Yeah, I think those are probably the top 3. And then it feels like it's just a free for all for the last 3. And I'm going with some more long shot predictions in that one because I figured why not. I do have Under the Banner of Heaven in there. I think that's getting some pretty good notices, and there's been a lot of press about it lately. It was certainly one that I was looking forward to, and I did enjoy it. I'm such a huge fan of the book. And the other one, I have very long shots in there. I have Impeachment, American Crime Story, because I think that one. It's unfortunate with the timing since it aired back in November, December, and there's just been this insane amount of limited series that have been churned out since then. But it's still incredibly compelling, incredibly good. And you'd be a fool to count out Ryan Murphy. And then I have in my number 6, I have Midnight Mass, actually.
Oh my God, another good one.
So that I don't know why. I just feel like it's just one to keep in mind. One also that I think there are 2 others that are also gnawing on me, and one is the Paramount Plus show The Offer. Since that's about showbiz, and that's been getting really good notices. But then also I would throw in Pam and Tommy as one where that's one that I feel like could sneak in and maybe sneak in and just show up in some of these major categories. I would love that if that happened, but I'm not confident enough to predict it.
I was wondering if Sebastian Stan's Fake Penis could get nominated. I don't think it's on that.
What really should be nominated, in addition to Lily James, because she is the star of that and she is incredible, is
Astonishing.
Is Jason Mantzoukas in the voiceover category for voicing said appendage.
It's just brilliant work.
Can I throw in just a couple that I didn't actually mention before that I'm a big fan of?
So greedy. Yeah.
I am a greedy bitch. I in terms of ones that I just absolutely love, I think the Amazon's A Very British Scandal is a very underrated and really astonishing piece of work. Claire Foy and Paul Bettany. Claire Foy in a very different role than the role that won her 2 Emmys. And also, I also think that that Anatomy of a Scandal, the Netflix show by David E. Kelly with Rupert Friend and Sienna Miller and Michelle Dockery, is also quite beautifully done. So,
Matt, have we missed any that you are really hoping for?
Maybe not necessarily really hoping for, but think are in the mix. And again, not saying anything, throwing any shade at those shows. Anyway, some of the ones that I sort of am maybe thinking, I think I actually have in my predictions Inventing Anna at the moment. A lot of people are predicting Julia Garner to get a nomination for that, who's also got a lot of attention for Ozark. And it's just of a lot of the miniseries, when I look at the list, even though it came out a little bit ago, it's one that and again, I'm not always hanging out with Academy members, but people actually watched that was like recommended to them on Netflix, and they said, "Oh, I'm watching Inventing Anna at the moment. It's pretty good." So I feel like it's one with a bit of like notice, something that broke through a little bit. So I wonder if people will come back to that one. I've also got The Dropout in 1883, because I just think, 1883 so can ride off the sort of coattails of Yellowstone a bit, but also just, I think, like, a good Western. It's different to all the other shows that are nominated, so it like ticks that. Yeah, so it's sort of like we often see a Western come into these races.
This year's Godless.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say Gaslit as well is one that I think is quite come out fairly recently, is quite sort of one of those things that's period, but it's also like very relevant to the times we're in now. So I think that one could get in as well.
I am just, okay, this is what I've got to say firstly. Dr. Death was really popular amongst like people in general. Like there's a lot of word of mouth for Dr. Death. And Joshua Jackson and Christian Slater, incredible. Yeah. So I think don't sleep on that one. Yeah. And also Women of the Movement was quite popular on ABC, very timely. Then you've got, I totally agree with what you've all said. We've missed Scenes from a Marriage, and I don't think it'll make it in this particular category, but that blew my mind, and I think both actors are probably in with a shot, but we'll talk about that in a second. I'm so glad you raised Impeachment. I think that was you, Tony, or was it you, Charlie? I can't remember.
It was me,
Charlie.
Yeah, that blew my mind, because that could have been really dumb, because I just it could have been handled in a very different way, but Ryan Murphy really stuck the landing on that one. And The Offer to me was like the second coming because of my obsession with The Godfather. But I got to tell you guys, I've seen so many of these, and Station 11 for me was like in another league. That is an absolute work of art that in 50 years, I feel like people will still watch it. It is so good, and I'm hoping it makes it in, and I just don't know. I think it's on the bubble, and it should be a favorite. It's so wonderful. And also, I know like people will just dismiss this because of Marvel, but Moon Knight was
yes.
God.
After WandaVision last year, the way that landed, I don't think you can count out Marvel.
I hope so. It really deserves to be there. That really blew me away. Wow. That was so good. So yeah, there's a lot to choose from in this category, and the 6 that make it in, good luck to you. And I must say also, I've written so many articles about Yellowstone. Whenever I introduce Taylor Sheridan, I always say, Oscar nominee Taylor Sheridan, but I'd like to be able to say Emmy nominee or Emmy winner as well. I'm hoping this will be the way for that to happen.
I agree that WandaVision broke through a lot like last season, and that was a great headway for Marvel, and maybe it's opened the floodgates. At the same time, that show is such a celebration of the medium of television. It'll be really cool to see if Marvel can break through for a show that isn't so in the Academy's wheelhouse, but just is a bit more of a that'll be interesting. I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying that's an interesting question. Also with Impeachment, like I think a lot of people are sort of maybe underrate, myself included, underrating the power of that show, because the last two American Crime Stories weren't just nominated in this category, they won.
They won.
So they're like,
they were sweepers.
yeah. So,
and like, yeah, well, let's go to actress, because that's a good segue. So I don't currently have Sarah Paulson or Beanie Feldstein from Impeachment in my top 6, but by God, do they deserve to be there? Like, wow, they killed it, they nailed it, and they should be nominated, but I just don't have room for them. And at the moment, I feel like there are probably 2 locks in this category, and I'm really hoping you guys are going to prove me wrong, but I think Margaret Qualley and Amanda Seyfried are out front for The Dropout and Maid. And then everybody else is like, well, we'll see what happens, because there's like 20 other contenders who could possibly make it in here. So who'd like to tackle that one? Who do you have in your predictions? And perhaps maybe you, Tony.
I've got Lily James, because I think she's astonishing.
She's so
in that.
Uncanny. She's uncanny.
I have Jessica Chastain.
Yes.
For Scenes from Marriage. Never underestimate an actress in a high-profile project coming off of an Oscar win. The last 2 that I have are really kind of hope dictions. I might move them out, but I'm not convinced yet that I'm going to move them out. One is Michelle Pfeiffer for the First Lady. Her performance as Betty Ford is one of the best things she's ever done in her career, in my opinion. She is so good in that series. And my kind of favorite in this category is Isabel May from 1883. This is an actress who's pretty much unknown and really has to carry this show. Taylor Sheridan talks about how, when he saw her, he wanted her to play the part. Nobody else wanted her to play the part except Taylor Sheridan. And she has to basically play this teenage girl who has to grow up and is so mesmerizing from start to finish that I really, really hope she gets in. I think she has a really good shot because it is one of those performances that just, if people watch the show, I think if the show gets nominated, she's getting nominated.
And we know people are watching the show because it's a huge hit. So Tony, I hope you're right. I mean, that's a long shot, I think, but because of all the heavyweights. But geez, man, she's amazing in this. Charlie, who else are we missing? There's so many, but let me tell us.
I do have Qualley and Seyfried. I do have Lily James in there. I do have Michelle Pfeiffer in there. I do have Sarah Paulson in there. I mean, it feels so weird that she is as low in our odds right now as she is, because she's Sarah Paulson. And in addition to that, the performance is unbelievably good. And so in the 6th slot, I have Renee Zellweger for The Thing About Pam. Which also got a lot of good notices. And if it can't make it in the limited series, I think she's probably the best shot at that. She's got a lot of good write-ups for this one, a lot of good responses to it. And then there's one that I want to just say, because I don't think it's going to happen. It's a very big long shot, but we know how much everybody friggin' loves Olivia Colman. And she is really, really good in Landscapers. And she's probably, as far down as that thing is, she's probably the best shot at that thing for a nomination. So because she's Olivia Colman, don't count her out.
Wow. Okay. Matt, who else? Because my head's spinning.
I've got Julie Garner, Inventing Anna. I'm also thinking maybe Beanie Feldstein's more of a threat than people are rating it, just because that is such a powerful performance and so endearing and so wonderful, particularly if we're sleeping on Impeachment. And it's really tough. Like, I think, well, even with those guys, it's really tough. But I think Claire Foy is someone that we just see keep popping up at the Emmys, so we'll see if that carries over. Look, I am really tempted to put Viola Davis in my predictions
why
for the
do you
First
guys not
Lady,
have Viola Davis?
because she does so well with getting nominated for stuff, whatever stuff she's in. She's not, and it's because she's so good in stuff. Like, she is great. Like, she's such a great actress. But I could just see her a bit like the Don Cheadle. We often see him pop up in that comedy
People
acting
like her.
category. People love Viola Davis, and she pops. I could see her getting
Viola Davis? First Lady was one of your shows, so why not Viola Davis?
I think because her performance is not as showy. It's actually a much more subtle performance, whereas Michelle Pfeiffer gets the addiction storyline, the breast cancer storyline, and she really is kind of this, there's a scene that's one of the most affecting scenes I've seen this past television season, after Betty Ford has a mastectomy, and this is the 1970s, where mastectomies were kept behind closed doors, and she brought it out. And there's this beautiful scene where Betty Ford like opens her robe in front of the mirror and has to see herself, after a mastectomy. And it's a beautiful scene, and there's no dialogue at all, and Michelle Pfeiffer just sells it. It's such a beautiful performance.
And I guess Gillian Anderson's probably, she has to deal with the fact that she's got Viola and Michelle Pfeiffer from the same series, and that's why she probably won't make it in, but she's good too. We haven't mentioned Julia Roberts. Gaslit didn't do as well with reviews as it should have, but she is Julia Roberts, although she did miss Home for Homecoming, so she's not necessarily a lock. And we've also, I just wanted to mention Anne Hathaway from We Crashed. She's really good in that. Claire Danes in The Essex Serpent. Elle Fanning is fantastic in The Girl from Plainville. So that, I think that's my spoiler alert that could happen. And Mackenzie Davis is very, very good in Station 11. Jessica Biel is excellent in Candy.
He's getting a lot of good press.
Getting a lot of good notices. And I'm just quickly just to check to see if there's anyone else. I don't know. I just think like after those people we've mentioned, it starts to become a bit hazy in terms of anyone else who could break through. But
we mentioned Jane Levy, so he's Extraordinary Christmas. Because that's something that, like, she's been in the mix in the past, talking about a comedy actress nomination, and so she's got a chance here, which and it's very different to the other performances on the ballot, so it could appeal to particular voters.
Actually, guys, I was going to say, I haven't had it, like, I mean, it's so hard, as you're all in the same boat, like we try to watch everything, there's only so much time, and I've watched so much stuff, but I just still haven't seen everything. I haven't seen The Staircase yet. That's on my list. Is Toni Collette really good in that? Because she's doing very well in our odds, and she could actually.
She's doing very good. I think the problem is that it's not a lead performance. I think there are more, and it's coupled with the fact that if you watch The Staircase, some of the scenes with Toni Collette are very difficult to watch, because particularly there's an extended scene in the second episode of her character's death, that is kind of the linchpin of the entire thing. And it's a very long extended death scene that is very brutal, and I'm wondering if maybe it might turn people off.
Right. Okay, it's good to know. Let's move on.
But she's Toni Collette.
She's Toni freaking Collette, and I'm still in therapy over her Oscar snub from Hereditary, so I'm always just
we all are.
We all are.
So let's move on to Best Actor. I think there are 3 locks in this category. I think Michael Keaton from Dopesick, Oscar Isaac from Scenes from a Marriage, should be Moon Knight, and or both, and Ben Foster from The Survivor, the telly movie. And then after that, you guys might not agree with Ben Foster. I think HBO are really pushing that, and they should be, because he's great. And then you've got 3 slots. I'll go first for once. I think Joshua Jackson's going to make it in for Dr. Death, and I'm going to sing as dance. I'm going to just be I'm singing a song of glee for him because he's so good in that Dr. Death. Sebastian Stan with The Fake Penis from Pam and Tommy, and I'm going out on a limb in my 6th position and going for Himesh Patel from Station 11 because he just completely broke my heart, and I'm still trying to find him so I can serve papers on him to sue him for that. So, Matt, who do you think? Do you agree there are 3 locks?
No. What were your 3 locks again? I agree with Michael Keaton.
Oscar Isaac, Ben Foster.
I do not think I'm a bit more concerned about Oscar Isaac's chances.
Really? Oh,
I think I just think like it's I feel like that was a bit of a mini series. There was a lot of buzz before it came out, and then I'm not sure how that buzz is sustained. So I'm just a bit concerned he might drop out of there. Ben Foster, Andrew Garfield, Banner of Heaven, Colin Firth, The Staircase. I think Paul Bettany from Very British Scandal could sneak in. He did very well. Last year he's in the mix for WandaVision, and he's a very respected British actor. My sort of left field on Olympic here that I think to not count out Liev Schreiber for Ray Donovan, the movie.
Good point.
We've seen him, I think he's been nominated in the drama actor category for Ray Donovan, hasn't he, in the past? He's someone who's very well respected in the Academy. He's done a lot of work with, I think, was he president of SAG at some point and things like that. So, look, I think he's the one that I'm thinking might sneak in here as a bit of a surprise.
What about you? Who hasn't had a turn yet? I think, well, both Charlie and Tony. Who would like to go first?
So I think there are 2 locks in here, and I think it's Keaton and Foster. And then again, just the rest is completely up for grabs. I think Garfield is, I think he's in the very likely camp, again, coming off an Oscar nomination. And also he has the material here. And I do have Paul Bettany and Sebastian Stan. And in my 6th slot, I did have David Thewlis for Landscapers because I was just keeping him in there as a hopeless pick. But I just took him out and I actually put in Liev Schreiber for Ray Donovan, the movie. I mean,
there you go.
It's gotten in. I mean, he was able to get in repeatedly for the regular series. So I have no reason to. I don't have no reason to think that he wouldn't get in for this.
Wow. What about you, Tony?
I actually don't have Ben Foster
Okay.
because I don't know that in an era of limited series that telemovies are going to have the same impact in an acting category. I have Keaton, I have Garfield, I have Colin Firth. I also have Oscar Isaac. I think Oscar Isaac is going to get in because he has 2 projects. He has Moon Knight and he has Scenes from Marriage, and probably going to go for the more kind of quote unquote prestigious version because they don't see Marvel as prestige. And in the other 2 slots, I don't have Paul Bettany because I think if Paul Bettany gets in, there's no way Paul Bettany's getting in if Claire Foy isn't getting in, because really Paul Bettany is not the focus of A Very British Scandal. Claire Foy's character is. She's kind of the really the protagonist of that show, and Paul Bettany is kind of secondary compared to her. He's not so much of a lead in that show. I think that Samuel L. Jackson has a really good shot of getting in, fresh off an honorary Oscar. And, Ptolemy Gray is so fantastic. And it's something that we really haven't seen him do in a long time. He's playing this elderly guy with dementia. It's a harrowing performance.
So underrated, Samuel L. Jackson. He's so good.
He's so often seen as a movie star, which could possibly help him at the Emmys, but people forget what a fantastic actor he is. I think Sebastian Stan has a really good shot. I think Jared Leto has a good shot. Never underestimate the method. My kind of hope diction, I have no confidence that it'll happen, and I'll probably take him out before the nominations. Who I'd like to see in there is Sam Elliott.
Really?
For 1883. I think that is, he takes the cowboy stereotype, because this is a damaged guy. This is a guy who is, on the verge of, an emotional breakdown for every step of that series. And he's so brilliant at it. But I need to think more about Foster. I'm just not sold on a tele actor getting into a predominantly limited series category.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I'll mention a few other people before we move on. Sean Bean won the BAFTA for Time. That's a BBC production, which is on BritBox, and BritBox is pushing that very hard. He's wonderful in that. Tony Goldwyn, I know the Hot Zone Anthrax doesn't scream Emmy bait, but geez, man, he's incredible in that. And then you've got people like William Jackson Harper in Love Life, probably not going to happen for HBO Max, but he's fantastic. Hamish Linklater in Midnight Mass is really, really, really good. Josh Bernthal in We Own This City.
Oh, John Bernthal. Oh my God.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
That is that's an amazing performance.
Really amazing. And I just want to underline this. My favorite actor, Oscar Isaac, if he doesn't get nominated for something, I'm going to be really pissed. So let's just put that up. Okay. So go ahead, Charlie.
Oh, I just was mocking you. I was saying, ooh, we're so scared.
I will come.
Mocking you.
I know where you live. Now, for the supporting categories, let's just throw out a few names. We don't have to go through all the locks and everything, because I think this is like White Lotus, Maid, Dopesick will probably get most of the traction here. But I just wanted to say, for Maid, yeah, Annie McDowell's great, but Annie Kanoni Rose, completely breathtaking in that show, and I hope she gets that nomination. And I am putting all of my No Guts, No Glories on Daniel Deadweiler in Station 11. She is phenomenal. Look her up. Read some of the reviews of her performance in episode 3 and the finale of Station 11, and she's so good in that show. And I feel like she's going to make it in, because we've seen like relatively unknown actors make it in the past, and I feel like she'll be one of those people. So this is Jennifer Coolidge's category to lose, but I feel like that's going to happen. Do any of you have anyone in particular that you want to just give a shout out to before we move on?
I want to give a shout out to Edie Falco in Impeachment as Hillary Clinton. She has the episode in there for her, and she's incredible in it. Like, she does what Edie Falco does, which is just enhance everything that she is in. So I would keep an eye on her. I would also keep an eye out for Daisy Edgar-Jones for Under the Banner of Heaven. She is incredibly good in that. And she is such a focus of that thing. So if the show does well, like if the series and if Garfield get in, she could very well get in as well.
Okay. What about you, Matt, Tony? Anyone?
It's I think Ellen Burstyn, always a name that pops up in these Emmy ballots, so don't count her out.
No matter how much screen time she has.
Yeah. Also, like, I guess just like a few people that we've like seen like in the Emmy mix for other shows or another thing. So Juno Temple is in the mix from The Offer. Like, will some of that Ted Lasso goodwill spill over to her here? Anna Klumsky, who was nominated a lot of times for Veeps, in the mix for Inventing Anna. Former supporting actress Emmy winner Ann Dowd is in this race for Live in Front of a Studio Audience. So just have a look out for some of those names.
She was so funny in that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Oh my God, that's a great call. She's so good in that. Anyone else, Tony? What about
two that I want to point out. Laurie Metcalf. She's on a ballot. Never underestimate her getting in.
For the dropout, yeah.
For the dropout, and also I'm going to sound like a broken record. Faith Hill on 1883.
Yeah, I'm predicting that.
Oh, I am too. That was a performance I didn't see coming, because she really has not done a lot of acting before this, and boy, does she take it and run with it. And it's the kind of role that just screams Emmys. I mean, under a tape system, I think if she got in, she would be a threat to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to actor before we have to finish up. I think a lot of this will be Dopesick and the White Lotus. I think the White Lotus is getting 3 in here. And I really wanted to give a shout out to Matthew Good in The Offer. He should be winning this. He is just extraordinary, and good on him for giving such an amazing performance. Anybody else that you guys wanted to give a shout out to?
Ethan Hawke in Moon Knight.
Yes, he's so
is
good.
so terrifying in that show and so charismatic. You cannot take your eyes off him every second that he's on screen.
So good. I agree. Seth Rogen as well in Pam and Tommy. I thought he was the best thing, apart from Pam and Tommy. He was just so damn good in Pam and Tommy. And yeah, loved him in that. Anyone else that you guys can think of that you're really hoping for? What about Tim McGraw in 1883? You predicting him, Tony? Because you've got.
I am, but it's just because I'm a greedy bitch. And also, if you watched the last episode of 1883, I mean, just the scene of him and Isabel May sitting against the tree and the long pan in shot, that's an astonishing. And I challenge anybody to watch that scene and not, just completely fall into a puddle.
Yeah, and Stephen Graham also in Time. But can I just 1883, it's an example of how, to me, I think TV is killing it, and it's way better than film at the moment in terms of the quality in the drama categories, the comedy categories, but particularly in this limited series race. The quality of what's coming out of Hollywood is just breathtaking. And so that's why I sound so hyperbolic, but I really honestly believe that something like 1883 is just something that will be cherished for decades to come. It's that damn good. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
I would throw in, for talking about Pam and Tommy, if that does really well, I could see Nick Offerman possibly getting in. Nick Offerman is really, really good at that.
He's very funny.
And I would also throw in, talking about impeachment, Clive Owen playing President Clinton.
One
of the best villains of the season.
He really, really nailed that. I didn't think it was going to happen, but he did it. All right, let's finish up. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.